Scheduled and held in the board chambers is now adjourned. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much, and welcome to Public Forum. Please turn your cell phones to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Gary Sansing Public Forum is intended for matters not included on the agenda for the upcoming Board of County Commissioners meeting. Citizens wishing to address items on the agenda should sign up to speak to such items at the regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the Gary Sansing Public Forum. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairperson, to allow for sufficient time for all speakers. If 20 more speakers are signed up, the time will be reduced to 2 minutes out of respect for all attendees. Members of the public who would like to present a visual aid when speaking must submit all materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting via email to submissions@myescambia.com. If you are signed up to speak today and have not already submitted your visual aids, please see a county staff member in the lobby for assistance. Please note that same-day submissions will be determined on a case-by-case basis at the discretion of the BCC chair. At the chairperson's discretion, the Gary Sansing Public Forum may end 5 minutes prior to the scheduled start of the upcoming BCC meeting to allow for the meeting to commence on time. We only have 6 speakers for public forum, so you will be allotted the full 3 minutes for a public forum. John Moore is first, and then Chris Kerb, you're next. Thank you, John.
Good morning. Thank you. I'd like to open by saying my comments today are my own and not representative of any group or organization that concern Chad Henderson's winning bid for OLF 8. He has presented a well-researched and workable plan for the field that aligns with most stakeholder expectations. His connections and alliances will enhance the build-out of his suggested ETI district according to his vision, and his demonstrated ambition and commitment can bring his dream to life. This will be a great opportunity for Beulah and the county. I hope to see his plan successful on OLF 8. That being said, his current offer for the property is reduced by 35% in exchange for the county retaining the least desirable acreage and the citizens accepting accountability for tens of millions of dollars in available grants with strict clawback provisions. This is not an adjustment to original terms. It is a material change. It is also a huge liability transfer with potential to double the county's original investment. Florida Statute 125.35 requires that you sell real property to the highest and best bidder. It does not authorize you to renegotiate a materially reduced price with the winning bidder after the fact. There is no provision in state law that allows you to accept a substantially lowered price or altered parcel. Your county purchases and contract ordinance indicates that such an act violates principles of fairness and transparency. You break both state and local law if you renegotiate a materially altered offer after a winning bid has been accepted, and it should not be a surprise if litigation follows. Ethical considerations may arise during this process, as some board members may have received campaign contributions from parties connected to negotiations over this property. I'm not alleging wrongdoing. Florida law requires disclosure from officials who have accepted gifts or contributions to evaluate whether recusal is appropriate. I respectfully request that each member disclose such contributions on the record and declare whether they will recuse themselves from voting on this matter. The public is entitled to transparency. In closing, I'm not making accusations or demands. I believe Mr. Henderson is dedicated and committed to his plan. He's invested great capital leading up to his winning bid and during his due diligence period. He has presented what appears to be a great plan for the county that has the prospect of generational success. It has received largely good reviews with acceptable changes to the master plan and design code to be worked out in the future. I'm refreshed that he's included the community in his deliberations and want to see progress on the issue. I strongly encourage you to petition Mr. Henderson to return to his original bid offer or come to a legal compromise that does not involve material changes to his bid and liability transfer to the citizens. His current proposition is a near zero net gain for the public at best and illegal to approve at worst. It's unacceptable. Your electorate deserves better. It's up to you to prove it. We're watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Kerb, you're next. And then Jennifer Yanzuni will be after Chris Kerb.
How y'all doing this morning? I have a Flood Defender shirt on, but it's underneath this nice yellow shirt this young lady gave me here out here. Because I support my other advocacy groups. But I'm with Flood Defenders Panhandle. We have a Facebook page, Flood Defenders Panhandle. Today I want to talk to you about what our federal government is doing about flooding. The Floods Act, dang it. The Floods Act was enacted in December of 2022, and it directs NOAA to improve flood monitoring, forecasting, communication to reduce risk and economic losses. It establishes a national integrated flood information system, enhancing flash flood warnings, precipitation estimates, and partnerships to improve water-related data. The key aspects of the Flood Act include NOAA mandates that the administration must make flood-required data such as precipitation frequency estimates and snow-related data available to the public. By the way, that's done every 10 years according to the Precept Act now. Improving forecast. The Act requires evaluating and improving flash flood warnings and watches. Research partnerships. NOAA is directed to work with institutions of higher education and other federal agencies to enhance total water predictions. Emergency management. It forecasts on enhancing communication regarding flood, tornado, and hurricane events. There's some other significant legislation that goes along with this Floods Act, the Floods Act of 1936, the Flood Insurance Reform Act of 2024. And you can Google that. Just type in Floods Act. It'll tell you all about it. You can also Google Precept Act. Now, why do I bring this up? Because we're spending millions and billions of dollars fixing stuff in our floodplains, and our floodplains are getting bigger. And it's costing taxpayers money. I've told you the quantities. You can look at floodsmarts.gov, historical information for how much money we're spending. It even breaks it down by state, county. And you can go break it down all the way to, I think it's 1980, I think. But we're using rainfall data 45 years old. It doesn't include the last 45 years of data. Oh, and I sound like a broken record. Why are we doing that? I don't get it. You know, you won't be doing it when the federal government ties those requirements to your grants.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. Jennifer Ianzini, and if I mispronounce that, I am so sorry. And then Melissa Pino, you'll be next.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you so much for your time and your continued support of our library system. I would like to recognize the West Florida Public Library Board of Governance for the professionalism and care that they are bringing to the hiring process of the Director of Library Services. I was present during the preliminary interviews and was impressed by the board's thoughtful, library-centered discussion. Their focus has been clear, selecting the most qualified candidate with significant library leadership experience and the right professional fit for our county. Libraries are uniquely public-facing institutions. The new director must understand county operations and budgets, but they must also possess a deep professional knowledge of librarianship, staff leadership, and community engagement, someone our professional staff look to for guidance and direction, someone whose experience strengthens, stabilizes, and promotes the growth of the entire system. This week, a colleague shared how a librarian at the Tryon Library quickly learned from her child's reading interests and pulled 8 perfect books within minutes. She asked me with some admiration, "Do they train for this?" Yes, they do. And I remember and hope that all of us can remember a librarian who shaped our curiosity, who made us feel seen. Those moments, they didn't happen by accident. Retaining our talented staff, reducing turnover, starts with strong, qualified leadership. As interviews move forward, I respectfully ask that you, our county commissioners, support your appointed board members and give strong weight to their recommendation, their hiring recommendation. I also encourage our community to attend tomorrow's interviews for the director, as public engagement strengthens our public institutions. Finally, access to library board minutes is essential. Currently, only January and February 2026 materials are available online. I respectfully ask that access to prior meeting minutes be restored promptly. In this way, we can remain both with the letter and the spirit of Florida's Sunshine Law. Thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Melissa Pino, you're up, and Kevin Wade, you'll be after Melissa.
Thank you so much, Casey. I just wanted to publicly thank her for going above and beyond, helping us put a slideshow together on a day there was a death in the family. So they're rocking it as usual in the CMR. Okay. Kevin, I'm not going to be able to get this mouse to go. Can you work my photos for me? You want to be over here on this side? Sorry, Chairwoman Hofberger. I think that's it. There we go. As you guys are in receipt, Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblets. As you guys are in receipt, I sent you a link. We've received deep gratitude for receiving the okay from John Hill to use any materials that we want of his. He's been meticulously documenting things down in the Key for 20 years and has been a tireless advocate of everything on Perdido Key, but in particular, the urgency of the need to open the beaches back up. And it's a shame, actually, that his work is getting displayed here tonight in this fashion. I encourage everybody to go to his actual website. He does absolutely beautiful work. The majority of what I'm going to be showing are going to be stills off of just 2 condos, and I'm not going to call them out by name because I don't think that they should be selected out for bad activity just because they have a live webcam behind their condos. As I said in the email I sent you guys this morning, what you really need to think about is the pattern of this stuff. There are over 1,500 slides just in that folder. That's one person bored during COVID, randomly checking webcams and pulling down hundreds of violations over a very short period of time. That goes for all of the condo owners. They all do it. And this has happened. It's been emboldened by...
Melissa, I'm sorry, is this in reference?
This isn't customary use. This is about dune violations.
Okay,
Yeah,
noted.
thank you.
For the
I can see why
clarification.
you thought it was going that direction. This is a pattern of behavior, and John is the one that we are indebted to all of the photos of the dune restoration semantics that avoided the ability for the public to be on the beach through nourishment. Millions and millions in taxpayer dollars, and as you can see, they hauled the dirty sand over, and then they spread it all the way down the beach, and then they sifted it. Millions and millions of taxpayer dollars benefiting primarily the condos. So that their dogs can crap in the dunes. Because when you gotta go, mom won't say no. Just one of hundreds and hundreds of dog violations out there. Forget the playpen? That's okay. We can go ahead and repurpose a sea turtle nest, right? Parents aren't even paying any attention. And at that point, those chairs that are stacked in the dunes have been there for 2 days already. It's in the webcam. This is one of my favorites. This is picking up trash. You know how they're always complaining about how they're such great stewards because they pick up the trash? They have machines to do it for them, and what they really do is grade the beach and run over all the nascent sea oats. So yeah, they're picking up trash. They're also ruining emergent grasses and coming along with these things that are in effect graders. There's a floating beach service from not getting their crap off the beach when there's a big storm coming in.
Thank you so much.
And I'll let you take it from here, Kevin.
Okay, Kevin, you're up, and then Diane Carmel, you'll be after Kevin Wade.
Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Boblets. Here comes the storm. You guys get the tent frame. Hey. They're pyro sea turtles that set off fireworks on the 4th, I guess. It's hard to see. The order of the most excellent caretakers of the turtles. Oh, or is that a snipe punt? Shine on, right? Shine on. We got special curtains. We have special lights on our condos. We don't disturb the beach at night. No one's allowed on the beach at night. And crazy. Okay. How do I get to the other slideshow, Casey?
It's on the desktop, Kevin. Just shut that, and there's a folder on the desktop. It's the two.
There we go.
Yep.
Got to get to happy hour. Overnight stacking in the dunes make morning time surface set up easy peasy. But dumping it from a pickup truck is the real piece of cake. Dusk to daylight. Same piles. Morning and night. Red flag means hazard. I'm not sure who the biggest hazard is right there, but did that tent frame cause the hazard, or is it, oh, bad tent frame, bad. Is that a sport? Doosan wheel loader, operating weight approximately 30,000 to 35,000 pounds, coming in on the dunes, you know. Young Doosan learning from its parental unit how to destroy the dunes like a grown-up. Luke, I am your dozer. Get him, Dad, get him. Practice, practice, practice. One day I will dig this dune in Carnegie Hall. And that's it. So, long ago when I got here, I was invited to a dune buggy parade for Mardi Gras that went from Johnson's Beach all the way to Floribama. And I come from Oregon, Washington, the West Coast, where the National Dunes is a 40-mile expanse with some dunes 500 feet tall. That's about 70 feet taller than the tallest point in Florida. And friends were showing me off in Perdido Key, showing me the dunes, and I just went, oh, they're so cute. They're just so cute. That's wonderful. And in the travels, they kept close to the wet sand, and I asked why.
Thank
And
you
they
so much,
explained
Kevin. Diane
how
Carmel and
conscious
Eric
they were.
Sharplin, you'll be next.
Good job there, Kevin. So I'm here to speak firmly against any effort to privatize Johnson's Beach. First, let's be clear. Johnson's Beach is part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore. Removing it from public ownership would not be simple. It would require, among other things, an act of Congress to remove the land from the national seashore. This is not surplus property. It is protected public land. Over the years, we've seen a gradual reduction of public access and amenities to Johnson's Beach. Roadside parking has been eliminated. The pavilion is gone. What remains is a single parking lot with limited spaces. What was once a robust public beach now feels like a micro-national park. When access is steadily reduced, it raises important questions. Is this neglect, or is it part of a longer-term strategy? When a public space is diminished to the point that it feels underused or inconvenient, it becomes easier to argue that it no longer serves a purpose. Now we're also seeing a major development proposed right outside the entrance. That brings additional concerns: increased traffic, parking shortages, congestion, and strain on the infrastructure. Where will those cars go? How will this affect residents and visitors alike? And we must not ignore the history. Johnson's Beach was named in honor of Rosamond Johnson, a Pensacola native and one of the first black soldiers from the city killed in World War I in 1918. During segregation, Escambia County designated this beach area of Perdido Key for black residents. Across the South, including here in Pensacola, beaches were segregated under Jim Crow laws. White residents used other beaches. Black residents were restricted to the more remote stretch of this shoreline. So we need to ask ourselves this question: what message does it send when what was once a segregated black beach becomes accessible primarily to the wealthy, extremely elite group of people? Taken together, reduced amenities, limited parking, high entrance fees, and surrounding development, it is reasonable to question the direction this is heading. Public lands should not be quietly downgraded until privatization feels inevitable. Johnson's Beach should remain accessible, functional, and welcoming to the broader public. National parks are a shared resource, not an exclusive privilege.
Eric Sharplin and Andrew Bluer, you'll be after Eric.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. I'm down here today. I want to talk to you all about something I've been praying about in the Bible, where it says, God says, if my people will humble themselves and pray, seek his face, turn from the wicked ways, he'll heal this land. But I don't see how we're going to be able to do it until we eliminate abortion, gay rights, and transgender. A person having a sex change, you know what they're saying to me? God, you made a mistake. God does not make mistakes. He is a perfect, supreme God. And everybody talks about my rights when having an abortion. I guess God don't matter. But if we would do these things, and I think that's the blessing of Trump. He is turning the courts more conservative for us. I think you'll see that God will bless our economy, and we won't be having the problems that we're having down here, because he can pour out his blessings on this country, and y'all be trying to figure out where to spend the money instead of struggling how to get money. And I just, I think school prayer is a good thing. We had it all throughout the 60s, and then they wanted to kick it out. And it's a good thing to pray to God every day and give thanks to him, because Jesus did a lot for us. He died for our sins. And so I just wanted to come down this morning and just talk about that for a minute. And I do see that this week, I know Lumen probably has thought about it. We've lost one of our great leaders when Jesse Jackson died. I don't agree with him, but I had a lot of respect. I had a lot of respect for the man. He made one heck of a speech at the '88 Democratic Convention, if you remember. He was a good man, and I'm hoping that that the country can get more healed. I know that there's stuff in the Espen file that's still out there that they're not wanting to release, because I think if they do, it's going to be a lot of turmoil for a lot of people. I'm already worried about the midterms because it looks bad for the Republicans in the House, but I'm hoping that people will wake up and realize what is going on. But anyway, Madam Chairman, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Andrew Bluer, you're next, and Andrew will be our last speaker for public forum.
You're probably wondering what stupid thing y'all said in public or what lies y'all told that would make me come down here and correct y'all. But Stephen Strohberger, you know that, don't you? You said no tax dollars were used to restore the beaches out there on Perdido Key. And guess what? It's been proven. During Ivan, y'all did use tax dollars to restore those beaches out there. So you want a mountain to die on, you can die on that mountain, the beach sands. Oh, Stephen Barry. If you're wondering, we still haven't fixed Hogan's Pit yet. How many times you been chairperson of the Board of County Commissioners and you haven't done anything with it yet? Lumen May, how many times you been chairperson for 31 years or whatever, and we still haven't fixed the Hogan's Pit yet? Why? Why haven't we fixed that yet? Now we got a DEI hire. I sent you an email. You can't read emails?
That's offensive. I'm going to ask you to wrap it up. You've got 2 minutes, sir.
Yeah, I got 2 minutes. I sent you an email. You can't read my emails. You can't respond. Same thing, Strohberger. I've called you several times. You won't respond? Can I embarrass y'all up there enough that y'all do something about Hogan's Pit? Why don't you fire the county administrator if he won't fire Joy Blackman? We've had 3 DEI hires, starting with Cindy Anderson, the other Joy, and now Joy Blackman and whatever. We still haven't fixed that Hogan's Pit drainage problem yet.
Madam Chairman, I mean, you don't have to listen to this time.
I do.
Yeah, you won't fix the problem.
That's a very
Why won't you
sexist
fix the
comment
problem?
and highly offensive. So I'm done with the DEI comments.
Okay,
You can
I
make
won't.
productive
When are we
comments or
gonna
you can
fix-
exit.
When are we going to fix Hogan's Pit outfall? Y'all spent $6 million collecting water to dump on me. Commissioner Mike Whitehead said that was illegal for y'all to dump that water on me. When are y'all going to fix the problem? We got county engineering, 3 different county engineers in there, and I'm amazed. If you
So are there people that you hate that are not females?
Huh? No, because they don't even know how to pour water out of a boot if the instructions are written on the bottom. 33 years and the problem hasn't been fixed. Y'all threw money at all kinds of things on that and it still hasn't been fixed.
Shameful, Andrew.
It sure is. It sure is shameful. 33 years. 33 years now. And you wonder why I'm upset. Y'all want to have a risk management thing? Y'all want me to take y'all to lawsuit? Who's the lawyer that I need to get to sue the county? Peter Pan. Yeah. Well, evidently, I got to find the lawyer that knows how to sue the county.
If it's not too offensive, you can ask Siri, and I'm sure she will tell you.
Can I comment
That
on
wraps
that?
up public forum.
I got
and-
one more comment. I got a
Yes,
comment
sir.
from Andrew. Yeah, I want DEI back. I want to bring it back. We're negotiating to purchase the 20 acres that's on the other side, the north side of Bellevue Road. That's going to help. It's going to help a lot. You told me at my town hall that you have not been offered anything for your property, and you have been at least twice, maybe more. It's not a lie. You wanted, what was your offer? You said you wanted $5 million for your property? $5 million, that's not going to happen.
All I want is an outfall of Hogan's Pit, expansion of Hogan's Pit.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other comments? All right, are we good taking a 5-minute, or you guys need 10? 5-minute break, and then our regular public meeting, or regular board meeting will resume. Thank you. If the county commissioners can make their way back to the dais, we're going to go on and get our meeting started. All right. Commissioner May, if you can make it back to the dais. Okay, we're going to go on and start this meeting. This meeting is called to order. Please turn your cell phones to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an agenda item. The speaker will be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairperson to allow sufficient time for all speakers. Speakers shall refrain from abusive, profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of this meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion is limited to board members and questions raised by the board. We have one county commissioner that will be making his way back, and then we had one that had a prior obligation. So we're going to start with our invocation. Commissioner Stroberger.
Sorry, Pastor Gary, please. Thank you. Everybody, please stand.
Good morning, commissioners. Did I just walk in the church annual business meeting? Oh, okay, all right. Well, it's good to see all of you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come today united as Americans. We thank you for the land you've given us. We thank you for the promises that were made to us. And we thank you for this great republic. And Father God, we just want to see your goodness, your grace, your glory, and your rule and reign, not only in our lives, but over this nation. So we humble ourselves, because you said that we're to seek wisdom above all things. It's a principal thing, and I ask for wisdom to be given to each and every one that helps us to govern and direct this great county. I pray, Father God, that you give us understanding, and Father, that you would also bring peace to us. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but it's the presence of Christ. And I ask that he be here, ruling and reigning in our hearts. Now we set forth our agenda, but we know this. It says the plans of a man's mind are planned before it, but the Lord will direct his steps. I ask for your direction this morning, and I ask for your guidance, and I ask for your strength. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Gary. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Berry, are there any items to be added to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Stroberger?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Commissioner Kohler did mention that we might want to look at moving our CAL meeting that is scheduled for March 5th to a different date, and I was going to recommend the 12th if that was an option. I think there is a symposium that many of you will be attending March 4th and 5th. So could we move the CAL to the morning of the 12th? It would be the week after.
I'm good with it. You good?
Commissioner Berry, would that work for you?
To the morning of the 12th.
Yes, sir. It was scheduled for March 5th. There's a symposium of March 5th or 4th and 5th. And I think most of us are attending that symposium at least one day, so.
Okay, and we'll still have we'll have the evening meeting on the 12th. Is that what you're?
So the evening meeting, we are still good to have on the 5th, but we won't be able to have the CAL. So I was proposing moving the committee meeting of the whole to the 12th.
What if we just don't have a committee of the whole meeting that day?
So that one is based on the budget, and I know Stefan and his department's been prepping a lot for that.
We're going to have the board meeting on the 12th?
On the 5th. So the board meeting was in the evening. We can also move the CAL to immediately before the board meeting.
I mean, I just like doing both. If we were going to move it, move both to the 12th.
Do you want to move both to the 12th?
Because we're there 4th and 5th, I mean, we got to try to hurry up and get back.
That makes sense. Let's see. I cannot do the evening. We can do, I'll get with Jose and we'll send out dates.
Okay, and just to be clear, I'm sure Stefan, I'm sure he's got things prepared for the board, but he's, he can also deliver those things, one-on-one with us. And I would also be fine with canceling the CAL and just having the business meeting on the evening of the 5th.
So have a business, okay. I'll get with Stefan and Jose and work through that. The conference is the 4th and the 5th. That is correct. Half a day on the 5th. So you will be back, I think it wraps up at noon on the 5th. And right now we have a board meeting scheduled on the 5th. So I'll work that through Jose. Yep. Okay, so that was the only items. Do we have a recommendation for the board to drop the agenda as
So moved.
prepared? Do we have a second? Wonderful, all in favor? 4-0, thank you. Commissioners Forum, Commissioner Berry.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll be very brief. I want to thank Congressman Petronis for some help that he gave to Escambia County and specifically District 5, aiding. We had a post office in Walnut Hill that had been closed for a period of time, and that, just it's the small things that that make a constituent's life a little bit more difficult, especially when transportation is as you get older and transportation is more difficult. It's nice to have a post office that's not 25 miles away. So he provided some help, and with cooperation with Escambia River Electric Co-op, they've got that post office up and running again. So I appreciate Congressman Petronis' help in that endeavor. Thank you.
I don't have anything, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Stroberger.
I haven't got much. I just want to first congratulate the 13 new Escambia County Fire Academy graduates. Thank you to them. I wish I had all their names. I'd read them all out here. But thank you for their service to their community. I had a really productive meeting with Deputy Secretary of Florida, DEP, Brian Bradner, and his team about getting access to the Perdido Key State Parks East and West. We come up with an idea, and he's going to come back to me with some numbers, and I think it's going to be good. And I'll have more to report later. Thank you.
That's exciting, and I'm looking forward to hearing the proposal. Good morning, and thank you for being here or tuning in. We are in the second month of the year, and already so many exciting and great things have happened for Escambia County. Thank you to Pensacola Mardi Gras for another epic Mardi Gras season. We appreciate you being a staple event in our community. Earlier this month, one of our paramedics was recognized as the 2026 Star of Life recipient in Tallahassee. So congratulations to Philip Cook. Also in Tallahassee, State Rep Michelle Salzman continues to deliver results that benefit our entire community, especially as it relates to safety and our first responders. I want to highlight her work on the school safety bill for higher education. Under this bill, school presidents would be able to appoint employees or faculty members to serve as guardians. In the event that something tragic unfolds, these guardians would be able to mobilize and neutralize evil where it stands. I want to thank Michelle for her support of the Carpenters Creek cleanup, additional funding for new fire equipment, and her support in the funding to upgrade our 911 and radio communication systems, and for additional funding for first responder vehicles. So thank you so much. I also want to thank Senator Don Gates for focusing on education and workforce development. His recent bill around reform to school choice funding will directly impact our community by preserving the promise of school choice, public, private, or homeschool, and by fixing the structural problems within this iconic program. Thank you so much for advocating for our children and for our schools. Again, thank you for being here today, and I do look forward to a very productive meeting. Next on our list is the proclamations. Do I have a motion to ratify the proclamations?
So moved.
All in favor? 4-0. Thank you. Did the clerk's office receive the proofs of publication for the public hearings on the agenda and the board's weekly meeting schedule?
Madam Chair, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Move to waive the reading.
All in favor? 4-0. Thank you so much. And the clerk's report, please.
Madam Chair, Clerk Childers and General Counsel Lee are tied up in a meeting, so I'm going to step in very briefly for her. We have 2 items on the clerk's report for the board's approval today, and the first is the acceptance of the TDT collection data for the December 2025 returns received in the month of January 2026. The second is the recommendation concerning minutes and reports prepared by the clerk to the board's office.
Do we have a motion
Move
to?
the clerk's report.
Okay, do we have a second? All in favor? 4-0. Thank you. Next will be the growth management report. Horace, if you can give us the growth management report.
Good morning, Commissioners. Drew Holmer, Development Services. We have one item today. It's a hold harmless agreement for a seawall.
Move growth management report.
All in favor? 4-0. Thank you. We appreciate it. And Debbie, the county administrator's report, please.
Good morning. There are 3 items on the technical public service, the public service consent agenda, and there are no changes and no speakers.
Move the technical and public service consent.
All in favor? 4-0. Thank you.
There are 15 items on the budget finance consent agenda. Please hold card 2-1 and 2-9 for speakers.
Do I have a motion
Move the
to
balance of the budget finance.
All in favor? 4-0. Thank you. Our first speaker will be Kevin Wade and then Melissa Pino. And this is for 2-1.
Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Boblets. Thank yous to those in the county that have been working this amazing project and bringing back White Island. And just bang up job. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I've been watching it since pretty much napkin sketches for many, many years, and just great to see it. Please pass it, roll it on. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa, and then Chris Kerb, you'll be after Melissa Pino.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hoffberger. Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblets. I'm sorry that Commissioner Kohler isn't here for us to thank him for finally getting this project across the finish line. It was blocked under Underhill for a really long time. We had a heck of a time, a bunch of people advocating to even get it started, but I don't think it actually would have ever gotten rolling without Mike. So hopefully he's coming back. But I also wanted to address one really unfortunate aspect is there's some guy on Facebook that's creating all this digital chat GPT and really, really bargain basement AI crap about the Pensacola living shorelines. I mean, it's literally some of the worst AI I've ever seen, but unfortunately still good enough to fool some people. So if you're watching out there and you've seen this guy on his Facebook page, he's like from Denmark or something, these are the types of folks that get picked up during campaign season. I have no doubt that it's connected with one of Commissioner Kohler's competitors. No, Temu did not get to drop a bunch of plastic on White Island. No, there are not toxic swans and pelicans and birds with like broken necks from the toxicity going around in a circle near White Island, nor are there dead ducks. Newsflash to poster, there are no duck colonies on White Island. So managed to get in a few hits at once, even went at the Wildlife Association, which Keith Wilkins now runs, claiming that they came in and scooped up all these dead birds in the dead of night. Folks, start watching to see if something even looks right. If you just examine the photos, so much of it is so bad, you just take a second think, because AI is going to be with us, and it was really unfortunate because staff has worked so hard on this project that then after they put in blood, sweat, and tears, then they get to run around chasing AI disinformation that, you know, is just the next gen of Under Owens tactics. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. It is a great project, so we do appreciate the support. Chris Kerb, you're next, and then Andrew Bluer, you will be after Chris Kerb.
How y'all doing again? I'm Chris Kerr with Flood Defenders. Y'all heard of the SUNS program workshop that the Nature Conservancy's working on right now? They're mapping out a lot of nature-based solutions in the Perdido area, Amy County. So I've been to 3 workshops, and there's a 4th one coming up. I think staff was present at a couple of those. I'd like to see more staff in that. Mapping out where all your projects need to be is the first step in planning to get funding. So this project right here, I stand in support of any kind of living shoreline, because that's nature-based solutions to our storm surge problems that we have. Which brings up some other issues. In 2022, DOT was required to come up with a resilience action plan under 339.157 Florida statutes. And they came up with their resilient action plan, and it required, the legislators required that they use the most up-to-date precipitation data and sea level rise data, which is NOAA. But what really kind of ironic is this program, the resilience program that DEP administers, the origin of that, you should look that up. The American Flood Coalition had a lot to do with that, which is, I work with them quite a bit. My boss actually funds Flood Defenders, and he is the chairman of the American Flood Coalition. But what's really ironic is DEP Resilient Program, they have Chapter 62.330, Environmental Resource Permit Rules. They don't even do a 100-year design. And our flood maps are based off 100-year storms. They also don't use current up-to-date rainfall data. So we got drainage calculations that you do for the county. We got drainage calculations you do for the state DOT, and then you got drainage calculations you do with DEP and the Water Management District. And they're all different design standards. Wouldn't it be nice if they were all consistent based off a federal standard? Anyway, I'll leave it at that, but I do support this. I support all nature-based solution projects.
Thank you, Chris. We
come with
appreciate
grants.
it. Andrew Bluer, you're next.
Boy, somebody must have a hot date right after this. It's exciting how we can take federal money that's tax dollars and throw it away. I love it. But we can't get any grant money to fix Robert Turpin's mess over there on the 40 acres of North Perdido Bay, where he made that a Superfund site. And just like Hogan's Pit is a Superfund site, I guess, they said they did checks on that, and it's not. But Luma May, you might like this, that we got some people that moved into our neighborhood that has a skin pigment similar to yours. So you are look after them or whatever.
Okay. Sir, we're not going to allow racist comments here, so you can try again or you can exit.
Wait,
I'm not sure why the color of your neighbor's skin matters.
it shouldn't.
Then why did you tell us?
Because over there on the school,
you
with
can
the
try
school
again
property
or you can
whatever,
exit.
That was they got grant money to fix that. So I mean, why don't we get grant money to fix Hogan's Pit? Why don't we get grant monies to fix the 40 acres that Robert Turpin messed up on North Perdido Bay? How come it doesn't make? If it doesn't make any difference, then how come we're not getting the grant money for Hogan's Pit?
Andrew, I'm going to try to get staff to write a DEI grant so you can have a DEI neighborhood, then you'll be happy.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make Bellevue into, District 1 into a SRA.
Right.
How come that's not a SRA?
And then and let me help you with the other thing, Andrew.
Everybody's moving out of
Andrew,
District 3
let me help you with
into
one more
District
thing,
1.
because your time's running.
Yeah,
I don't
my
care how
time's
you
running.
address this board, but keep my name out your mouth. All right, and then we'll be okay. All right.
like,
And no.
You want me to take you to another
Yeah.
chicken dinner so I can talk to you one-on-one?
Get him out of here. Get him out.
Madam Chairman, yeah. you
And
don't have
whatever
to
we can
listen
do to suspend him from coming back, I want that done too. So check that out.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chairman. You don't have to, we don't have to listen to sexist
No.
or racist comments.
We're not doing that.
Thank you for your leadership, Madam Chair. But I think we are going to be done by 11, and chicken sounds pretty good to me at 11, about 11:30.
Okay, next, do we have, that was the last of our speakers. Do we have a motion to move this item in a second, please?
So moved.
Wonderful, thank you. All in favor? 4-0, I appreciate it. And we are up to CAR 2, 9. Okay, item number 9, we have 2 speakers, Melissa Pino and Kevin Wade. And this is regarding Johnson's Beach.
Yes, thank you. And Casey, I think I had one photo that I wanted playing in the backdrop. If we've got that one, maybe it's on one of these photos. Kevin, can you help me get to the folder? I bet you can get there. Can you get back to our original folders? Maybe it's there. It was the one single, yeah, the parking along Johnson Beach.
One.
Okay, that's all right. If you see it and you project it, great. If not, no big deal. I was throwing stuff in bad order to Casey all day yesterday. We had a death in the family, so this is my fault, not hers. Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblets. So I'm going to say as gently and as respectfully as possible that the mess in every aspect that we've got going on down in Perdido Key is due to the corporate board's longstanding tradition of not getting into another commissioner's district. And that tradition was born way before any of you ever thought of becoming commissioner, and I do understand why a lot of it is recognizable on certain local projects. But for years, first when Tewart and Gene were orchestrating that dune restoration nightmare down there for the taxpayers, lots of other questionable stuff happening. And then we had Doug fighting him for 8 years. And unfortunately, all of these things came to the board. It's just that nobody really ever suspected that he would do so much damage materially that now needs to be corrected. And unfortunately, the verdict is out on whether Commissioner Strohberger is actually going to fix some of these things, but he certainly didn't fix the roundabout. And I got up and asked him at a town hall at the Liberty Church very early in his tenure why on earth he was waiting to fix it, because before Burgash left office, he already had 3 different ways that it could go: expanding the roundabout, pulling it out altogether and going back to the way it was, or stop signs. You lost it on me and told me I had no business being at the town hall, and then you told everybody in the room that I lied. Those plans have always been there, but we don't want traffic fixed out there, do we? We want that cluster effed up because we are firmly now back in the territory, thanks to the road swap. That is why Doug swapped that road. Of course, he had no idea when he did it that he lost $120 million in an encumbered DOT fund out of District 2, because nobody told him, because they didn't want him getting his hands on that money. But now it's a county road, and he actually amazingly got PK Drive removed as an evacuation route. Can you even imagine the back doors that had to happen with that? So this picture shows one of the reasons why it's so clustered out there, because Doug worked with Dan Brown to pull down a perfectly good pavilion, Jack Brown lied and said it had a bunch of termite damage. It didn't. It was completely fixable, and that was a historical monument. They said they were going to replace it. They didn't. Then they started to go at parking, and now we're going to have parks closed, folks. The moose outside should have told you. Why don't you guys just have a Wally World sign out there diverting people away and getting them accustomed not to go to Johnson Beach because the effort is back to privatize it.
Okay, next we have Kevin Wade, and Kevin will be our last speaker for item number 9.
Everybody take a breath. Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Boblets. I need to take another breath over this because when you go look at the advertisement for these digital signs are grab eyeballs, grab attention. The viewer is yours. We don't need that at a roundabout that most people absolutely despise. And I believe that was something that was offered in campaign promises to go away.
Can I stop you right there? That sign, that digital sign's not going to be at the roundabout. You know that, right?
Oh, that's the way it reads.
No, that's not where it's going to be.
Okay. So, we don't need all that much more signage out at Perdido Key. There was a very coordinated effort to get more signage taken off of Perdido Key, to get signs off of Perdido Key. Changing the road with the road swap that actually lost $150+ million because it was sequestered towards building evacuation routes in a tri-state consortium that was Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. Set back safety in Escambia County, set back Gulf Beach Highway to the point where there are sections of Gulf Beach Highway that are now labeled as beyond 2040 for review. The shenanigans of playing the games of who owns Johnson Beach, who owns Johnson Beach Road, it's got to stop. Absolutely. That's for the public.
Commissioner Strohberger.
Yeah. So we'll start with the roundabout. The roundabout, if everybody remembers, and maybe everybody doesn't remember this, there was an FDOT report that said don't do anything at the roundabout. Don't put a light there. Don't put a roundabout there. Don't change the speed limit. There have been a few accidents there, and it was a couple of drunk drivers, but even their speed wasn't more than a couple of miles per hour over the speed limit. So that corner was working. And then we got a roundabout. And that's the one we got. I am gonna fix it. Now, someone sent me an email recently, said that I lied about demoing it. I never said I was gonna demo that roundabout. I wanted more information, and I've ridden out there with Tony Tampere, and he's convinced me that we need to keep the roundabout now because we're gonna actually need one later, but we need a better one. So we're gonna improve that roundabout. That's my plan. And back to your comment, Melissa Pino, when I said you lied at my town hall, that was because you said that I had high net worth donors that that I guess I was in their pocket. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. Okay. And what I said was I have 2 donors on Perdido Key Drive. One of them is a friend of mine named Joe. Another one is
Okay, that's enough. It's Commissioner Strohberger's turn.
yeah, and the other one is my campaign manager. Those 2. Between the 2 of them, it was $750. So what I said at my town hall was, if I'm going to be in your pocket, you better have deep pockets. They better be more than $750 in your pocket if you're going to buy me off, because I am not for purchase. So, and I've said this before, I'm a free agent up here. my only pocket I'm in is my wife's pocket. And I've spent a good deal of her money, okay? Our money, my family's money. And that's where I'll always be. I don't need anybody's money to run for this job. I'm doing this because I do feel a duty. There was a gripe I had, and now I understand, now I'm in this job, that there's a lot more than just one gripe. There's lots of gripes we got to fix. And what else? I think that's about it. That's all I got to say. Thanks.
Commissioner Berry?
Do you want to move the item, Commissioner?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Commissioner
I'm sorry.
Strohberger? Yeah.
I thought you meant
Did
in
wanna move-
general.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yes.
I second it.
All in favor? 4-0, thank you. And I do want to echo something Commissioner Strohberger said, because when we're running for office, we don't know what information we don't have. And then we get in here, and there's so much information to process, and we want to make sure that we're making the best decision possible. It takes a while to process that. And there is a lot to do, and it's almost like triaging things. And so you have to start with the things that are most important. So thank you for that. All right, moving on, CAR 3.
Are there any speakers, Madam Chairman?
3-1.
Are there any speakers for 3-1?
No.
Okay, I move item 3-1, A, B, and C.
I second.
All in favor? Commissioner May? 4-0, thank you. And then we do have several speakers for item number 2. The first one is Tony Hobbs, and then Joseph Kleinenpepper will be next.
Can I have a moment to get my presentation back up?
Yes, of course.
before
And do you need assistance?
Yes, I do.
Casey, can we have some help? Huh? 21. This is you, right?
Yep.
So yeah, just use the arrows here. Good to go.
Thank you. My name is Tony Hobbs, and my topic is on this topic. We all know that this is a hornet's nest, so if customary use is asserted by the county, we end up in court and a judge decides. I'd like to talk about due process elements of necessity and legal concerns. Now that you have been put on notice that multiple Perdido Key property owners are disputing that customary use applies in their case, a thorough evidentiary review must take place before voting on a customary use ordinance. Evidentiary documentation should include detailed parcel-specific descriptions for each photo, written testimony, written document, verbal testimony, etc. Each parcel owner should be given the opportunity to provide evidence proving that their parcel has been managed in one or more ways that proves there has been an interruption or dispute in the public's customary use of the beach at their parcel. It is highly advisable that the board seek outside experienced legal counsel before enacting a customary use ordinance in Perdido Key. The current county attorney appears to have made significant mistakes when advising the BOCC. It appeared that Allison Rogers showed up at the committee of the whole meeting largely unprepared last month, particularly for such an important topic, or earlier this month, basically saying there are rumblings in other counties in Florida of people passing customary use ordinances, but I do not know the names or details. Has the county attorney yet provided this board with those details? The county attorney's office has not retracted their incorrect representation that the burden of proof in court is on the property owner to establish that customary use does not apply. The burden is on the county. Based upon these serious concerns, along with additional ones, seeking additional legal advice seems prudent and necessary. Details, accuracy, and understanding are critical components when advising anyone, and particularly our Board of County Commissioners. When taking into consideration that nearby neighbor Walton County spent over $10 million fighting owners of 1,194 parcels and failed to prevail on 1,099 of those instances, why would Escambia County take such a risk in terms of time and money? One other issue, you were advised by the county attorney last time, she didn't think that business impact estimates were required. There are plenty of businesses involved in this customary use stretch. They're absolutely required, and if they're not prepared and you come up for an ordinance, someone's going to bring an issue on that, and then you start over, wasting your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate it. Joseph Peter? And then Tony Reeves will be next.
Yes, my name is Joseph Klein Peter. I'm the president of Indigo Condominium Association. I've been an owner, I'm a full-time resident there, and an Escambia County voter for more than 10 years. Our property is 2 20-story towers, 177 units. We pay more than $2 million of county taxes a year. We bring in about 20,000 visitors who come to enjoy Perdido Key and our private beach. Our deed and our declaration were approved by the county. We paid a high premium to live on that property. We are great stewards of that property. We take care of the turtles, the birds, the mice, the dunes at our own expense. We rebuilt our dunes after Hurricane Sally. We believe in public access and use of the beaches, but customary use is bad policy. It's unconstitutional. We have a Fifth Amendment right to own property going back all the way to the Magna Carta. You cannot take our property without applying 14th Amendment principles, namely fair and reasonable compensation. We think there are much better ways than this approach. It's going to be futile. You just heard what Walton County done. You know all of this. You've gotten letters from qualified attorneys. I saw one of them, 4 pages. It went into elaborate and very convincing details about the futile and insurmountable obstacles you face. Don't waste our federal money or county money or any taxpayer money fighting something, trying to force something on us that is unconstitutional. Work for good, reasonable solutions that will actually increase access to and better use of our beaches. Our beaches at Indigo are well cared for. We love them. We take good care of them. We're busy. If you give public access to our beaches, we're already shoulder to shoulder doing the whole season. You're not going to be doing any good or solving any problem by pushing customary use. It is bad policy. Please don't do that. Please read these letters, listen to us, respect our constitutional rights, stand up for all your citizens, not just the ones that make the most noise and wave the most flags or the most yellow shirts or whatever it is. Please vote no on this unconstitutional proposal. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Tony Reeves and then Tim Walden. Tony Reeves and then Tim Walden.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Tony Reeves. I'm a owner and a board member at La Playa, which is directly next to Beach Access Number 1, which is probably the worst beach access in the county due to the fact it's 50 foot wide. I'm here to urge you to strongly and as respectfully as I can to please do not consider customary use for the La Playa parcel. Here lies the problem for Escambia County. In 1978, the Napier-Eaton Pelt lawsuit was filed, which encompasses the land that La Playa and Sandy Key currently occupy. A Florida court entered a final judgment against multiple defendants, including Escambia County. That final judgment rejected the county's claim that the defendants or the public had any right to utilize, pass over, or park on the property. In other words, this exact legal theory has already been litigated and lost by the county. The final judgment over 48 years ago is not optional to ignore. It's a binding court order. If Escambia County chooses to ignore a judicial judgment that named Escambia County as a defendant, you're simply inviting immediate litigation, which undermines the public trust in your own legal commitments. Under what set of circumstances does any county commissioner think it's okay to pursue anyone's legally deeded private property for public use? For decades, LaPlaya has always maintained private ownership, controlled access, and continued marking and no trespassing. Are you done? Even when certain groups of people have decided to deface, steal our signage, and they also continue to steal the county signage at entry access point number 1 that indicates it's a private beach. Illegal trespassing on private property does not constitute customary use anywhere in Florida. I ask the commissioners to focus on improving public access to the miles of underutilized beaches on Perdido Key versus spending millions of county tax dollars defending lawsuits from property owners who have the financial means to protect what is legally their private land. The county can purchase land, improve facilities, improve parking at existing access points. The customary use crusade will not create long-term positive changes for the public, as this will be tied up in the court system for years upon years, which will not create meaningful results for the public and end up at the same net result of what we currently have, but just spending millions of dollars from both sides fighting these issues. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Tim Walden and Timothy Tim Walden and then Timothy Mullins will be next.
Okay, thank you. My name is Tim Walden. I'm a resident of Escambia County, and my home is at LaPlaya Condos, adjacent to Beach Access number 1. I'm one of the many residents who make Perdido Key beachfront their primary home and our backyard. I'm also president of our Condo Owners Association, which, by the way, is my full-time unpaid job. And on behalf of our owners, we are, for the record, opposed to customary use. I want to correct a misconception. LaPlaya maintains our beach and our dune. We also paid to restore our dune twice, once after Hurricane Ivan and again after Hurricane Sally, at a cost of 6 figures each time. We also pay for ongoing dune maintenance, including populating the dune with appropriate plantings. One significant concern we have with allowing the public to use our private beach is the potential liability exposure to our condo association if there is an incident on our property involving a non-resident. We hope you realize this road to customary use, particularly as it applies to LaPlaya's property, is the wrong way to achieve the purpose you are intending. However, should you choose this path, be advised we will vigorously defend our rights to maintain control of our private property, and will use whatever legal means necessary that the court system may allow to maintain control of our property. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir. Timothy Mullins and Curtis Soderberg will be after Timothy.
Good morning.
Did you still want to do your presentation?
I don't know how to.
I'll pull it up for you. Casey, we appreciate all your help this morning. Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay. And then you can just use the arrows
Okay.
like this, so just the right and left.
Thank you. Good morning. Today I'm here to read and offer my own opinion of the public beach usage in Perdido Key. It's a limited history of Gulf Beach and Perdido Key. Elimination of Perdido Key's historical beaches occurred in 1973 and 78. In 73, Escambia County turned the free public beach called Johnson Beach over to the federal government with no provision to use the beach at no charge in the future. In 78, a judge ruled that Escambia County was no longer effectively using the beach at LaPlaya and Sandy Key parcels that had been provided by the chamber in 1924. In what appeared to be on abandonment, the judge, by way of final judgment, ruled that the public had no right to cross over or use the parcel. including the dry sand down to the mean high water tide. Without permission, beach usage was limited from regular beach use other than Johnson Beach. Non-blacks had one lawful beach to use, and it was located at the terminus of the Gulf Beach Highway. Other public uses of private beaches were not lawful, thus not customary use. Visiting the old abandoned Bars Escambia Hotel and crossing private land to hang out behind where colony condominiums exist now was an act of dispute. Driving all over Perdido Key in dune buggies through dozens of private lands was trespassing and did not create customary use rights. Historical aerials show that most beach usage was via trespassing. The original public beach in Perdido Key was located where the end of Gulf Beach Highway was. Without permission, not customary use, the vast majority of beach going by the general public in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s was by way of trespassing over private lands, which falls under dispute by definition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Curtis. And Connie Walker will be after Curtis.
Good morning, and appreciate the opportunity to speak to the commission. And also want to say from a previous life where I did a lot of this kind of stuff, I do appreciate the time and effort that all of y'all put in. So my name is Kurt Soderberg. I'm a resident of Indigo Condominiums on Perdido Key and have been since 2008. And I'm here to urge this commission to not approve a customary use overlay on our property or any of the properties along there that have private, where our property is considered private and private use. First thing, it's unconstitutional. It's a taking of private property rights. Now, the lawyers can figure all that out and they can argue that, but I think everybody knows what that means. You have something that's private and you don't want somebody coming in and taking that away from you. Also, if that does happen, there are provisions for that, but they require due process and they require due compensation. We don't want any of that. We take care of our beaches. We're good stewards. We've rebuilt them. We have lots of rules, and we really respect the sanctity of our beaches. The other thing is that trying to write an ordinance that would govern customary use is going to be almost impossible, because the key on creating ordinances is enforcement. And I don't know how you enforce a public use on a private piece of property. It's pretty hard to do, and if you've ever been involved in writing ordinances, you're going to find this one like almost impossible to do. It also is going to pit private property owners and public use folks against each other, because how we work now, we have lots of rules, and they're there to create a family environment. They're there to have stewardship of our property. And if you get into a situation where you're pitting one group against another without adequate enforcement, you're going to have a problem. So I really urge you not to go down that path. And really the last thing is that we have better alternatives. We've got a beautiful Johnson Beach with 6 miles of beach, and you have the state park at Perdido. I'm certain that something can be worked out to where use of those properties could be part of a plan, an overall plan. So I urge you to consider that. I also urge you to vote no on this customary use, because I think it's a political loser. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Connie Walker. And then Ethan Jones, you'll be after Miss Connie.
Good morning. Connie Walker, President of Perdido Key Association. Seemingly, the commission has decided it is a good idea to take a wait-and-see approach to customary use in Perdido Key, in part because supposed similar legal case is up for a decision soon. I am here to say maybe it is not good to hang your hats on something that is not anywhere close to the same as our situation in Perdido Key. The outcome of the Reddington case will tell you something, but it will not give Escambia County a blueprint for doing the same here. Informed citizens and government officials will recognize that Perdido Key and the town of Reddington Beach are not anywhere close to apples to apples. I have a town of Reddington Beach story. The entire town was developed by one man, Charles E. Reddington. In total, there are 807 parcels, and only 6 of them are now condominium buildings. 65 are oceanfront homes. Currently, there are 6 public access points. 3 of them were created by the developer from day one. With over 91% of the parcels, 736 of them, being non-oceanfront but within walking distance, the developer marketed the 736 lots as having public access to the oceanfront. This is a small, tight-knit community that was literally built upon the concept that everyone used the beachfronts together. It was marketed that way. No one questioned it for decades upon decades. The town raked the beach sand weekly from the early 70s until May of 2021. Reportedly, there were never any no trespassing or private property signs. Reddington Beach is probably a classic example how customary use can and should apply. I urge the commission to learn much more about the town of Reddington Beach before hanging your hat on their customary use legal case. Thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you, Connie. Ethan Jones, and then after Ethan will be Tom Mazier.
Hogan's Pit. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I am not wearing a yellow shirt, and I do not own property in Perdido Key. What I am is a beach attendant. I work beach service. We're the guys that do the chairs and the umbrellas and the paddle boards and the kayaks. I bury dead animals. I bury seaweed. And most of all, I keep the beach clean. Yes, I do. I'm there every day, except for Tuesday. Somebody less cool and handsome is there. But I'm there from sunup to sundown cleaning. I've never seen you in my life. Specifically, I work next to Public Access 1. Public Access 1 is a nightmare. Full stop. You have 40 parking spots and about 50 feet of beach. Plus everybody at Grand Caribbean, everybody at the Purple Parrot. There's not enough space. And when I walk down and I look at Johnson Beach, there's nothing but space. And you have all these people crammed into the smallest access. And in order to protect their private property, people have to put out signs. They have to hire security. They have to hire the sheriff. The sheriff comes down and they don't have the rules straight. They'll tell anybody that they can sit wherever they want, right next to another sheriff that's been hired by a condo in order to protect their private property. For how small that access is, there is an exorbitant amount of trash, broken tent frames, glass bottles because nobody's there to regulate the rules. I know firsthand, because I'm out there every day, that the renters and the owners of the condos are the ones that keep it clean. They're the ones that spend their money there. And if you want to take their beach, you're going to get sued. And you know that. There is space. There is room for compromise. At the east part of the most east condo in Perdido Key, there's nothing there. I recommend that you look at Henderson Park in Destin and how they have the boardwalk layouts, because there's enough space for people to walk. But at the boardwalk at Johnson, you'd have to walk so far to access that beach. So it's there. You just have to use it. I think it's important to protect private property rights. I think these people are their owners. This is their backyard, and they take care of it. I think you keep the private parts private. You find a way to make Johnson Beach affordable. I know you discussed a daily rate, something like that. Nobody goes to the beach 7 days in a row. Just $4, whatever you can do. If there's any way for it to be possible, if you do live there, to make it cheaper, to make it free. Give more access where there is access. keep the private parts private, and drop a nuke on Public Access 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Mazier, thank you for also including a pronunciation. I appreciate that. And then Blaine Burkett will be next.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak. My wife and I bought property on Perdido Key in 2015 for planning to retire here. We officially became permanent residents in 2019. And I currently work a couple of days out of the month at the VA in Pensacola. So I know the average, person who lives in Perdido Key area, there are problems with getting access to the beach. And I respect that, and I think we should try to help them do that. But the problems I see with the customary use are many. One, I frequently will go, as I walk the beach, go by Public Access 2, 3. You go there on a Saturday evening, Sunday morning, and you look at the trash, bottles, as the attendant was talking about all the things he sees. I see fires. People start fires and leave the wood there. And it's, it's just a huge problem. The other issues we have in our condominiums where we're sitting there, we take our families out there, we take our kids, our grandkids. And so what do you do when you have someone sitting next to you who has foul language? Lewd behavior. What do you do? Tell them to leave? What are they going to do? You're going to have a confrontation. In our beach in front of our property, where it's private use, we don't have those issues. We can take our family out there and relax and enjoy our property. What we also see is people trying to gain access to the beach. They climb over the dunes. They park across the street in a vacant lot, and they just walk across the dunes. And now they start carving out tunnels, grooves through the dunes. And so you're ruining the dunes that we, at our condominium, are trying to protect. We see people who are, who come now down on our beach. They come up into our dunes to relieve themselves because they don't want to walk to the porta potty at the public access. That's not good for many reasons. I don't have to explain those. The vandalism that we see, people climbing over fences to get and have gained access to community rooms where they open the refrigerator and throw the food all over the condominium community center, it's unacceptable. And who's going to police that? If someone gets hurt on the property, who's responsible? I think there's some options. I see Commissioner Strawberger's, I appreciate his response, but one immediate one is at the visitor center, where currently there are 46 parking places, 5 of which are designated visitor center, 3 are handicap, leaves us with 38 spots available. If you add 3 additional visitor center spaces, that's 35 spots
Thank
that
you
can
so much.
immediately
We
go.
appreciate your comments. Blaine Burnett, and then Diane Burnett will be next.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. My name's Blaine Burnett, and we own the Beach Colony. We've had property down there for about 15 years, and it's unfortunate that we've found ourselves in this situation. We certainly understand that the public has a right to beaches. There are multiple public access sites in that area that are accessible. And we own to the mean high tide, so as has been said already, it is private property versus the public property. There are plenty of public property areas around there. I just want to say that I'm against this, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Diane, and then Mark Herring will be after Diane.
Good morning.
My name is Diane Burnett, and I've spoken to you a couple of times before. We own at Beach Colony, and today I'm speaking on behalf of the Beach Colony Resort, which is the 3 towers. So I have to put that hat on. There's no dispute that we own the area from mean high tide northward to actually the south right-of-way line of Perdido Key Drive. We have and continue to maintain no trespassing signs on our beach, but we're limited to what your ordinances allow, and we continue to follow your rules with regard to that. We do hire security, as you've heard before, as well as off-duty county deputies to help us maintain our no trespassing components on our beach, and to try to take care of our property because our property is very valuable to us. You know, we do the dune restoration, we pick up trash, we hire people to help us do that, and I also want to say that we do not intend to allow the county to take away our private property rights without a challenge. We ask the commission to provide alternative public beach access by lowering the cost to use Johnson Beach rather than voting to take away our private property rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Hearing, and then after Mark will be Jennifer Jackson.
My name is Mark Hearn. I'm a full-time resident at the San Perdido condominiums on the west end of Perdido Key. I've been a full-time resident there since 2021. Our Sandy Beach area has, for decades, not been available for use by the public or used by the public. It's been strictly reserved for use by owners and guests of our condominiums. We maintain appropriate signage that complies with the county ordinance, providing ample notice to the public that it is private property, no trespassing is allowed, and that the beach area is restricted for use for our owners and guests only. I guess the upshot of that is if there is a customary use declaration, the county is not going to be able to prove or establish that our private beach is currently or has in the past been subject to customary use. That will be a very expensive and wasteful exercise. It will cost the county a lot of money. It will cost our homeowner association a lot of money. And I think this could all be avoided by pursuing some common sense solutions, such as looking to expand access at the state parks. Obviously, there's discussions about providing easier access to Johnson Beach. There's also the public property lots, not public, but vacant lots that are next to beach access number 3 that could be purchased by the county, and that would be a use of county funds that would actually result in providing additional beach access. A declaration of customary use that ends up going through litigation in the courts is going to end up at the end of the day not providing any significant public access, and it will be an extraordinary cost. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Jennifer Jackson and Charles Krupnick. You'll be after Jennifer Jackson.
I'm a full-time resident and owner at San Perdido on the west side, and I was going to withdraw my request to speak. Everything's already been said, so I really don't have a whole lot to add, except, I came and spoke to you guys in November, and at that time, I made the point that there's not a shortage of public beach access on Perdido Key. When you factor in the 4 current beach access points, the state park and Johnson Beach, that's 60% of the beachfront on Perdido Key that's accessible to the public right now. So I agree that some additional parking could be expanded. Everyone's talking about how Johnson Beach is expensive, and I just want to make sure everyone knows you can purchase an annual pass to Johnson Beach for $45, and that's not limited to one person. The pass holder can get whoever's in your vehicle gets in. So you could take a carload of people to Johnson Beach 365 days in a row for 12 cents a day. So we have, and that's 5 or 6 miles of beach right there. And Commissioner Stroberger, I'm excited to hear that you're working with the state park on perhaps getting something going there, but 60% of Perdido Key is already accessible to the public. So I think maybe the best use of taxpayer dollars is not entering into certain litigation with the private property owners when we know that 2 of the 4 requirements for customary use, uninterrupted and free of dispute, can't be met in this case. So I urge you guys to vote no and really, plunge into the path of expanding the existing beach access that's there. Thank you guys for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Charles Krupnick and Francis Opitz will be after Charles.
Charles Krupnick, 14500 River Road, PK Director and opposed to customary use. It was mentioned, I think last time, that SB 1622 led to Perdido Key beach restrictions, and since it was canceled, we should have customary use and return to public access conditions before 2018. SB 1622 actually, of course, supported private property rights, and its removal just took us back to pre-2018 non-customary use status. Here's some hopefully relevant other events. Perdido Key has had private beaches since they were deeded from the federal government in 1957, with some private actually before that. Perhaps members of the public sometimes use these generally empty and unmarked beaches, but what happened across Florida from the 70s onward happened on Perdido Key. Private lots became more developed and public access more restricted. For background, proposed nourishment efforts on Perdido Key in 2009 would have added about 100 yards of new sand to private beaches, but it would belong to the state and hence open to public use, along with required government maintenance easements. Property owners would lose their Gulf waterfront. This was not accepted by enough Perdido Key owners, so renourishment was not pursued, and the permit expired in 2019. In 2015, Escambia County did not include previous restrictions on beach signage in a policy update, so signs could then be erected. Perdido Key owners put up no trespassing signs because they could, and certainly to curb visitor violations, perhaps to ensure sheriff follow-up to vandalism, along with perhaps concerns about renourishment experience and eroded beaches. With signs popping up on the key, Escambia County provided clarity in 2019, authorizing 3 signs per boundary. This was changed in 2023 to 1 sign per county ordinance, where we are today with beachfront owners defending their properties as best they can. One final comment. It was mentioned a few times ago, and I hadn't heard it for years, about those rich people on Perdido Key. I thought that saving hard work, maybe having a goal like earning a piece of property, private property on the beach, could be part of the American dream. I hope it still is on Perdido, on Pensacola, in Escambia County. Thanks very much.
Francis, you're up next, and then after Francis, we have Laura Begras.
Good morning. I'm Francis Opitz, 7 Arapahoe Drive. We've been arguing. Oh, sorry.
Yes, ma'am, the mic.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Anyway, we've been arguing over these beaches for around 10 years now. And in the interim, our tax money, has been spent every single time we have a hurricane to replenish or restore these beaches, whether it's county, state, or federal. That money belongs to everyone. We all pay taxes, and that's our money. We have 335,000 constituents in Escambia. The beaches should not belong to the small percentage of people that mostly are not even residents of our beaches. I bought property on Perdido because of Johnson Beach, and I am now told that I'm on private property when I'm walking the beach. I've even been in the water, and I've been told that I need to move down the street, down the road. It's been very sad for me, and this is what's happening. There will be a lawsuit. Either way you vote, it's going to happen. Are you willing to disappoint and eliminate and alienate 335,000 people? Please do the right thing. We can share the beach. There's plenty there for everybody. But we are really being hassled. And I can't sit at the beach without somebody telling me I'm on their property. Just doesn't seem right. And I understand where these people are coming from, but we all have enough beach there. All we're asking is to put a sand chair in the beach, bring our children and let them play in the water. It's supposed to be for everybody. Why are we arguing over this? It's ridiculous. Governor DeSantis has already made 1622 available. All you have to do is follow it, and we can all abide by it and get along perfectly. We all have to have the right feelings for our county and our beaches. That's all I'm asking. Be fair to everyone. Thank you.
I'm going to take a little different approach today because we've all know where, or you guys all know where I stand. I've lived on Perdido Key for 20 years. I've always used public beaches. And what I'd like to talk about is spring break is upon us. And it has become increasingly difficult at access number 1 and terribly, I don't even know the word to use. It's like a police state when we have tourists and visitors and locals come to go to the beach there. Even though it's a small access, the off-duty sheriffs that are employed park in the driveway to the beach where the public is supposed to be able to walk. The car is left running all day long, and we are told that that is a county requirement, that any vehicle parked has to be running and locked all day long. So we are allowing the pollution of our beaches and our condos. There is crime scene tape. All of my family's pictures now include crime scene tapes and deputies with full gear down at the beach. It is a very sad thing. I don't understand. Commissioner Strohberger talked about compromise, and I would like to know what the compromise is, because last year along that beach line we were told we could not even walk in the water by the sheriff's off-duty deputies, and that we would be cited for trespassing did we do so. So is that to me is not even acceptable if you don't pass customary use. When did this happen, and is it legal? That's what I'd like to know. The crime scene tape, the off-duty sheriffs, are we going to have a repeat of that last year, or are we going to allow some access for the public right along the water line? Can I get an answer?
Yeah, so the deputy vehicle's running. I don't like that either. And I don't like the crime scene tape. I've seen all the signs. It looks
It's
ugly.
awful.
You're right, it looks terrible.
And people will not come back to our beach because of it.
Yeah. So I want to find a way to solve that. I don't know what that answer is yet, but go ahead.
Well, I heard the word compromise. We haven't been asked, and from what I hear, the compromise, I did hear one compromise, then I also heard we own to the water. You cannot walk along the beach in front of our
So that's
condo.
not right. You can walk in the water. You can walk in the water. You definitely can do that.
Last year, we were
So
not
I don't know
allowed
who's
to.
chasing you out of there. That's not right.
Do you believe me when I tell you last year we were not allowed to? We were told we could walk in front of the beach access or go over to Beach Colony, I don't know, to the right of access 1 and walk.
I do believe you. I do
Okay.
believe you.
So what are we going to do for this year's spring break until all of this is resolved? It's coming in 2 weeks.
I know it is.
What are we going to do?
Well, I'll tell you this, all the compromising seems to have to happen on that side of the room.
Okay.
Because they're the ones who own the property. The only investment anyone has on this side of the room is T-shirts.
That is not so. I live on Perdido Key. How dare you say that my only, that is so
if we're going to have a
insulting
compromise,
to me.
the compromise they had at Walton County was 20 feet. And to tell you the truth, I actually asked them I asked several people about this compromise at 20 feet like they do in Walton County, because I want to avoid all the litigation. We've been talking about, we just got out of a shade meeting about litigation. None of us want it anymore. We're losing when it comes to litigation. I don't want this. I don't want this.
Can we get a vote today?
No, we're not going to have a vote today.
To just establish a certain amount from the water back for spring break?
That's
No.
not what we're going to do
Okay.
today.
All right, so nothing's going to happen. Are we going to have crime scene tape?
I do want to get rid of the crime scene tape. I also want to get rid of the holes in the sand, that don't get filled up, and all. There's a lot of things to do out there.
All of us that live there and use that beach feel it is not as portrayed. It is not as dire as portrayed.
Thank you,
by
Laura.
these
We really
owners.
do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chuck Camden, and then Diane Crummell, you'll be after Chuck. Do we have a Chuck? He's coming. Thank you. Sorry about that, sir. And then Diane, you will be after Chuck.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Chuck Cadden, and I appreciate having the opportunity to address you this morning. I want to begin by acknowledging that beach access is an emotional issue for many in our community. We all value Perdido Key's natural beauty. We all want to preserve and make it special. My comments today are not about excluding anyone from enjoying our coastline. They are about ensuring the long-standing property rights, safety responsibilities, and environmental stewardship that are respected as you consider future policy. Private property owners on Perdido Key have invested heavily in their homes and in the health of the shoreline. The dry sand areas above the mean high tide are legally recognized as private property, and owners bear the full responsibility for maintaining them, including liability for injuries, insurance costs, dune protection, and erosion control. With those responsibilities come the right to manage access in a way that protects both the property and the people on it. Customary usage is a serious legal description, or designation rather, that should be applied carefully and only where clear, site-specific evidence support it. A broad or blanket application risks unintentional consequences, including increased liability exposure for owners and potential harm to fragile dune ecosystems that many of us work hard to restore and protect. I also believe that there's constructive alternatives that don't require diminishing private property rights. The county can expand public access points, partner with state parks, or explore targeted land acquisitions. This solution strengthens public access through public investment, not by shifting the burden onto individual property owners. I respectfully ask the commissioners to proceed cautiously to consider the legal and practical implications for those who maintain these properties and to pursue solutions that balance public enjoyment with the rights and responsibility of private ownership. Thank you for your time and your thoughtful consideration of this proposal.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Diane, you're next. And after Diane will be Kevin Wade.
So those pesky public, Commissioner Stroberg are giving people, telling them they can walk in the water. How gracious of you. And I just want to say that I've owned a condo from the mid-'80s up until Hurricane Ivan out there on Perdido Key, and for many years, it was used just for family and friends to go out there. But I want you to know that at no time in those 20 years did I ever know or even suspect that I owned that property down to the mean high tide line. There were so many times that we would go out there, family and friends, they would show up, and the kids, we would go out there and we would party. But let me tell you, we would start at that dune line and go down. But I lived in a small, the condo was a small 8-unit complex, so we didn't have a lot of, quote, beach frontage. But let me tell you what we did have. We had all the space on either side of us. We had our kids
Did you
coming
have a
over.
survey and a deed? Did you have that?
I own that condo,
So
Commissioner
you had
Strover.
a survey?
Absolutely. So, but no time though, when I signed the property, did we ever know? None of us knew it. None of us knew that we owned that property. And it was, and everybody used that property in front of us. We used the property next to us because it was a small 8-unit complex. Those folks next door, they would come, they'd sit out there with us. We would all just mingle. The kids would go up in the dunes and play hide and seek. We partied. We had tents. I lived out there for quite a while in the early years when I owned it in the early 80s. So it was customary for everybody to use the beach, and nobody bitched about it. Nobody complained. Nobody, not one time in those 20-plus years that I owned that condo did we ever have any kind of issues with being thrown off the beach. So I just want you to know that it was, for all those years I was out there, it was customary for people to use that. And again, the people on either side of us, we would go over there and hang out in their property, and they would come over and hang out with us. We met those folks. We had families, and we formed friendships with the people that lived out there. Never, never. And shame on you for trying to tell people they can just walk in the water.
Okay, next we have Kevin Wade, and after Kevin will be Melissa Pino.
Ruh-roh, Raggy. It's them meddling kids in their yellow shirts again. Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Boblets. Shoreline Defender has put out an app which helps people find their space on the beach. And I recommend that people find the Shoreline Defender app. I believe it's available on Android and iPhone. And through Facebook. Okay, thank you. Those meddling kids, they ain't got no investments. Oh, yeah, great, from the liar in chief. Wow. Wow. No investments. 335,000 people in this county. They ain't got no investments. They ain't got no rights. I walked that beach decades. Never once was I told, you're not allowed here. Who are you? I was shaggy. Always. I'd be walking along the beach, and it's like over and over again, "Sup, Shaggy?" No one ever challenged me. Maybe because it's the way I look. I've invested so much out there. Friends have invested so much out there for decades. When a storm comes, I head out Perdido Key. There are so many homes with boats, they don't know how to tie up very well. So I tie up good spring lines over and over again for storms. I have saved hundreds of millions of dollars of investments in boats for people who were not even there, never expecting a thank you. But I was known. Most of the people I know were known. 7-generation families here were the people who would take me down there occasionally, and we would go everywhere. And it's bunk. absolute bunk of decades of running people off. No, we're looking at 7 years. One lousy commissioner coming in and bringing in the sheriff because he had a bone to pick over parking on Perdido Key Drive, and we lost $150 million in safety for the roads.
Thank you, Kevin. We appreciate your comments. Melissa Pino, and then Earl Wright. You will be after Melissa.
Thank you. Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Boblets. Should be able to cut through most of this BS in about 3 minutes. And we came down here with a skeleton crew. I didn't even put this up on Facebook until yesterday. We didn't recruit or call people out because we feel like well, for one thing, a couple people called me and they said, we really don't think we can make it, and we're afraid there are going to be a bunch of condo owners. I said, God, I hope so, because every time they show up in mass, they just make our argument for us over and over, and so do you. I mean, it's just laughable. No investment. Commissioner Strohberger, my husband, and I have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars advocating in Escambia County over the last 10 years. I don't know whether it's your ignorance or your arrogance to make statements that are so ridiculous that nobody has any investment. I'll be here long after your butt is off that dais. Gary Holt, Diane Crummell, and I bought these shirts to hand out to anyone who wanted them, because you know what the difference is here? The difference in spirit between giving and community and taking and elitism. And this stuff about decades and decades is nothing but a bunch of crap. We all know it. This started in Underdog. It got going about 6 or 7 years ago. It took them a year to get up to speed after that corrupt Huckabee legislation. You ask anybody, any old timer who is a beach lover in Pensacola, whether it's Pensacola Beach or Perdido Key, where did the public used to go on the beach? From the dune lines down on Perdido Key, everyone knew they could be there. Did kids scramble up in the dune lines sometimes when it wasn't really well established yet that it wasn't great environmental practice? Of course they did. But then people also understood that they were not allowed behind the dune lines, which is why people snuck up there if you were going to smoke a J or drink a beer. And as one of my neighbor friends said to me, half of Pensacola was probably conceived behind the dune line. The important thing is people knew they weren't supposed to be there, but they did know that they could be from the dune line down. Here's the legal. They can't even get their act together down here. Is there a such thing as customary use? Isn't there such a thing as customary use? They all have to get on the same page, and they couldn't even do that for the Windermere suit, which is why it fell apart, because they were all infighting and threatening to sue each other. Oh, there isn't any such thing as customary use, except there is over in Remington, except that has nothing to do with Escambia County. It's ridiculous. It's all BS, and let me remind you again, we have more standing to sue than they do, and we will. We will exercise our standing so you can win a suit with them, or you can lose a suit with the public.
Earl Wright, and then Mary Annabeth will be after Earl.
Good morning, Earl Wright, 12470 Ryland Drive. Retired Marine Corps. I fought for country, for us to be free. When I drive into the state, I drive out of the state, it says, welcome to a free state. The sidewalks that we walk on here are public access. Our beaches should remain public access. I'm here to support that. Trash on the beach, parking, that's an ownership problem. That's an ownership problem. You own a piece of property on the beach, you're gonna get trash, you're gonna get people, you're gonna get people tracking through your dunes. That's part of being an owner. That's one of the perils. I'm here to support that. I ask each and one of you to support public access to our beaches. These citizens depend on you. That's why they put you in office. They depend on you to do that. I ask that you do that, and thank you very much.
Mary? Mary is our last speaker on this topic.
Hello, my name is Marian Abnett, 14435 Gorm Road, and I live close to Perdido Key, and I love the beach. I've lived here for over 30 years, and I've been listening to speakers calling the beach today their beach. And it's really sad to listen to. I wasn't planning to speak here today because I don't like to speak, but I'm speaking for my children and grandchildren and Escambia County's children and grandchildren. I spent my early years living by the beaches in California, and I've been to beaches on the East Coast and the coast of Texas, and never have I encountered the public being kept off the beaches in any place that I have been, because a few want to own it. And I'm wondering, maybe I'm naive, but is this idea a Gulf Coast issue? It seems like such a selfish thought that anyone should be allowed to own the beach. People live in Florida here, especially along the Gulf, because of the proximity to our most beautiful beaches. And they really are. They're prettier than all the other beaches. Maybe California has a few, but the climate is, the waves are worse there. Anyway, no beach should be privately owned. No one should own the God-given sky, ocean, or beach. It is such a selfish mindset that a few should claim it and want to keep others out. I love it here, and I'm wondering what happened to our southern hospitality, and it doesn't seem to exist right now on Perdido Key. Let's keep our beaches open to all residents and visitors to our beautiful coast. What kind of legacy do we want to leave our children in Escambia County if we don't fight to keep the beaches open to them and their future families? Let's acknowledge the beach belongs to all of Escambia County, and customary use is for the future of all of us, not just a few. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, this concludes our speakers for this item. We will now have discussion.
So I first want to apologize. I haven't been able to get to all the emails. This is just from printed today, and that's from that side of the room. These are the ones I got from this side, and you know what? Half of them are from you. Half of them are from you. So not a good response. And you also wanted it on the public forum. You didn't want it. You didn't want you didn't want it on this discussion item. So I think I want to address the private property rights issue, because I'm going to give everybody a constitution here, if you pass that down.
Larry Downs Jr.
This is Commissioner Stroberger's time to talk, and responses
Yeah.
are limited to the board or if you are asked a specific question, so please be respectful.
So these constitutions are a gift from the Republican Party. I see that you're giving them back, okay? That says a lot about how you feel about our Constitution. I'm talking. So one of the most widely used benchmarks to determine a country's respect for property rights is the Heritage Foundation's Index of Economic Freedom. Has anyone been on that website? I was there last week. Specifically, if you look at the component about property rights, there's also International Property Rights Index. You can go lots of places like this. The top 10 countries that consistently rank at the bottom of global property rights protections are Somalia. They have a score of 0 out of 100. Venezuela's 0.7. We know where these places are. Syria, Yemen, Libya, Cuba, Iraq, Afghanistan, Central African Republic, they're all on the bottom. At the top is Finland. 100. 100. We're at number 9 at 95.4. Denmark, Luxembourg, Norway, Iceland, Austria, Germany, they all protect property rights. There's lots of reasons why those other countries are at the bottom. Virtually all this land is owned by the state, like in China. They don't recognize full private property rights in China. They got a score of 46.7. There's also a history of land seizures and no registry for deeds. There's weak title documentation, clan-based land claims. That's what goes on in these undeveloped countries. The reason why the United States is not near the top, at the very top, is because of expensive litigation. Litigation and also politicizing eminent domain. Those are the two big things. But we do have the Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment, and they're in the Constitution. And I think you should look that up. I meant to highlight that for you, Ms. Pino, but I think you can find it. And it says that state that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. So that's what we're here to figure out. We're kind of here to figure out a lot of that stuff. And it requires fair procedures through incorporation. It applies to states via the 14th Amendment, like I said. So it's the Fifth Amendment, the 14th applies to the states. Correct me if I'm wrong, Madam Attorney. Or maybe don't.
She gave you a thumbs up.
Okay. So nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. We've been through this. I've heard it over and over again from this side of the room. It's important. So I think the real question is where do we want to be on the list of economic freedom? Do we want to be on the side where China is, on the bottom? Or do we want to be on the side where we are now with the developed countries where we respect property rights? That's where I want to be on. That's why I respect property rights. They own property. It goes to the mean high water line. It shows that. Now, the compromise that they came with, and I've said this before, that they came up with in Walton County after years of litigation and millions of dollars was 20 feet. And guess who owns that 20 feet still? The property owners still own it. Guess who has to clean it up when everyone comes to the beach? The property owners have to do it. If it's not cleaned up, code enforcement's going to be there. So it's still the property. All the burden is on the property owners. It's all on them. So that's all I have for the moment.
Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chairman, so what's the hope? Mike is not here. I think he's probably an important part of the discussion, but I'm comfortable moving forward with something. I don't know what, I don't know what Mike's comments are going to be, but I think his are going to be important for the board's discussion. What's your goal?
So, Allison, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have a few options. One of those options is we can declare customary use. We can not declare customary use. We can declare it with parameters, or we can do nothing and say, we're not taking this up. It's set as is. Are those our options?
You can absolutely choose one of those paths. You certainly cannot vote today. We don't have any ordinance before you. There's no public hearing. There's not even a staff recommendation before you at this time. And I would certainly say that your staff would need more direction from the board to even know what it is we should prepare for a future discussion. But you're correct in identifying what those paths might be.
That makes sense.
So,
Commissioner Berry?
Madam Counsel, I think it would probably be prudent advice today or prudent feedback for Allison would be, I don't know what the tea leaves are amongst the board. I'm fine with moving forward with customary use. So I would ask that, Mike's opinion is going to be important. Allison has the opportunity to interact with each of us in a way that we don't have an opportunity to interact with each other. So, if there's, somewhat of a straw to say, I do want to move forward with something. I want to move forward with something that the majority of the board can support, which that means, that she's going to have to spend some time with each of us to see what commonalities amongst the 5 opinions there are, to see what is feasible to bring forward. And other than saying I'm good with moving forward, I think that's all the direction I can give as one board member today. But I would like her to spend time with each of us to come up with something, see if there's some common ground, at least amongst, 3 or 4 of us. And I'm not sure if that exists, but, then she can circle back with us.
Well, I think among us, we do have some common ground. We are trying to increase public access, and the chairwoman wants to try to reduce the rate at Johnson Beach. I want to get access for citizens at both the state parks out there on Perdido Key Drive. And we're also trying to manage, and I don't know if we got any comeback from the owner yet. He told me he hasn't received anything. You want to speak about that? But we're trying to purchase some property also next to beach access number 3 too. So, and aside from all that public access, there's lots of ways to get to the beach. The problem is we don't have a lot of places to park at the beach. That's the problem. That's the real problem. It's not about the public can't get to the beach. I don't know why anyone would go to beach access number 1 unless you lived in one of those condos there, or you were Airbnb-ing over there, because that's a terrible place to go to the beach. That's a terrible place to go to the beach. I wouldn't want to go there.
And I think someone mentioned the visitor center, and I'd have to drive out there and look, but that seems like a very practical idea, especially if there is beach access right there, and making sure that we put in some crosswalks with some lighting. Tim, I think somebody asked you a question. I'm sorry. Do you want to answer that question?
Just the first part, I'm still in communication with Mr. Mills. He's asked to see the latest appraisal we've done. I'm going to have that over to him this afternoon. And so hopefully very shortly, I'll be able to get him to reconfirm the figure he's looking for.
Thing. Could you also speak about the, nourishment versus restoration one more time? I know you've talked about this before. Everyone seems to think that the county, the state, the federal government has spent money out there on the beaches already. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, just very, very briefly, after Hurricane Ivan, the county did get funding from FEMA and the state to restore dunes on the beach. The purpose was to provide minimal protection for both private infrastructure and our public infrastructure, because if you remember in Ivan, the road was breached in a couple spots. So there was public money spent on
to restore the dunes, not beach renourishment.
That's correct.
Okay. I will say I've been relatively quiet on this, and I've been trying to take everything in. After a storm, and even in our day-to-day activities, the county spends hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars on building infrastructure and putting in stormwater, and sometimes those only benefit one neighborhood, and it only keeps that neighborhood from flooding. When someone builds a neighborhood, we take over a lot of drainage ponds. Those drainage ponds benefit that neighborhood. It's very similar to us pulling sand out of the road on Perdido Key and putting that sand back on the beach. We can't leave the sand on the road. We don't want to leave it piled up on the side of the street because that's not safe. So it has to go somewhere. I am a huge proponent for property rights, and I agree. There should be beach access for everyone. Unfortunately, that is not how Perdido Key was set up. If we could go back in time and we could set it up differently, I would do that. But that's not where we are today. The fact is, people bought a piece of property. That piece of property butts up to the Gulf of America, and when they look at their surveys and they look at their property lines, it literally says Gulf of America or Gulf of Mexico. So for us to go in and take that, even if we want it really bad, the question is, when do we stop taking private property? So where it might be a good reason, it's not the right thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. Where does it end? So customary use is narrowly addressed, I think, in state common law, Florida state common law, but what if it applied to intercoastal properties or interarity, the interarity peninsula? What if it did? Why couldn't it? I mean, what I'm getting at is that there are people that own property that are on the water everywhere. And we're only talking about the beach. What if it applied to Gary? You live on the water. What if it applied to your property? I think that's important to understand. I know it doesn't, customary use, we're only talking about the beach, but will we always just talk about the beach, or will we start claiming everybody's property at that point? So I had discussion, one other thing I want to bring up is about beach access, number one. Someone tell me if this is true or not. Was it originally an emergency access point only? Yes. That's what everyone seems to think, but you're saying, Tim, it wasn't. It wasn't just for, it was designed for beach access too, or also? I know that they, go ahead. I know that they used beach access number one for beach access, but it wasn't specifically for emergency access?
Correct. It was, if you refer to the settlement that was referred to for Sandy Key in 1978. Yeah, I mean, it was intended to be an access.
Okay. Okay.
So if,
I'm what?
They're lying about that.
They're not liars. They're not. So so let me tell you this. I had a discussion, stand by. I had a discussion with the president of Beach Colony, and they're offering to buy the parking at Beach Access number one. That's a terrible beach access, and we would be limiting how many people come there, but the people that live there could still use the beach. I think that's great.
let Commissioner Stroberger speak.
So that's something I welcome. That's money that he's saying that we could use that money to buy other property if we needed to, whether it's over at Beach Access number 3 or whatever. But that's something he's offering up to do to help us out as well.
So Commissioner Stroberger, if I'm hearing you correctly, your goal for this meeting would be for us to direct staff to come back with ways to improve beach access and to expand parking options. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
do you want to make that motion and see if
Yes.
there's a second?
Yeah, to increase beach access and also to.
We're not voting on
I
customary
don't know if we need a
use.
motion. I mean, you can direct staff
Madam
without a
Chairman, that's
motion.
not necessary.
That's-
I mean,
To increase beach access, yeah, definitely. And-
Steve, that's something the entire board supports. I don't think that takes a motion. The board can the board can just give direction. We creative ideas and outside of a huge allocation from the board that doesn't currently exist, you have to find some creative financing for looking at buying real property out there. But other than that, I mean, some of the other ideas that were brought up about the additional access or reduced rates, I mean, these things, I don't think that those ideas have to be mutually exclusive to what we're talking about. I mean, I think those are things that the entire board would support unanimously, regardless of the discussion about customary use. I mean, I think those are good
the
ideas.
idea of customary use kind of falls flat if we have so much beach access. If we have a lot of beach access, I don't see the point in those particular areas we're talking about, instituting customary use in those areas where they have private property. So I think it's important that if we increase the public access and parking, we should be alleviating the problem. We should be making the situation better. I know it's not going to be good enough, but it's a big step in Perdido Key.
And there may not be, I don't know how palpable, bringing it forward is, again, without Mike here, but that's something Allison can ascertain. So we'll see about that. So, but everything else, I mean, I think that the entire board supports those things. So we're all good with that.
I appreciate that. Commissioner May?
Yeah, I've been consistent since I've been on the board about beach and public access. One thing, we can't say in one voice that we're going to limit access, and then in another voice, we spend millions of dollars to market the beach and invite people in. So it's not just about access, it's about having a welcome culture and a welcoming spirit when you want people to come and utilize those facilities. So Steve, I'm hoping your leadership will be able to find some resolution, because like you, I do not want to end up in a long litigation. So hopefully as citizens and as individuals and as leaders, we can find something that will not end up in courts, because if this goes to court, it will not be solved probably by the time any of us get off this dais. I mean, as you said, today we're discussing a litigation that we've probably been in for the last 5 or 6 years. And so I always respect the commissioner from the district in which he represents, because he's closest to those citizens. But I do recognize that there's a long history of Johnson Beach and Perdido, when the constituents that I represent, they remember when they were limited to access. And so if I ever err, I will always err on the side of giving citizens public access. But I think that I would not make a decision without, council telling us the best options. And so although all of us are policymakers, we are not authorities or subject matter experts in the law. So, but whatever we bring forth, I want to make sure that it's the best legal position that all the citizens of Escambia County can defend. And so if it ends up, there's one thing to end up in a litigation. There's another thing to go into litigation blindly with bad advice, knowing that you're going to lose. There's no sense in picking a fight that you can't win. So hopefully, Commissioner Stroberg will find a resolution. And obviously, it's not a knee-jerk reaction. I don't think you can make a decision today, maybe not even tomorrow, because it has been a long-standing issue with that beach in Perdido. And so it's going to take a little while for us to get out of it. But with that being said, I do have the courage to make the vote and make a decision when it's brought forward.
When is a practical, so everyone out here, because I know they've invested a lot of time and we've discussed a lot of really good ideas, when is a practical timeline for this to come back?
I think we just got to wait and see what Allison's, what her gauge is after discussing it with the 5 of us once Mike's around.
Okay.
I don't think we can set, I don't think there's a date we can set certain.
Okay. Commissioner Stroberger?
I don't have a timeline for this.
Yeah.
If this lasted the next 30 years while I'm in office, that'd be cool. Yeah, I don't.
Y'all are full of jokes today.
Madam Chairman, you ready to move on to the county attorney's report? Do we have any speakers?
Yes, we have. We do have several speakers on the county attorney's report for item number 1. Our first speaker is Diane Cromell, and next will be Kevin Wade.
Yes, I'm here to stand before you to speak about a simple idea with a really big impact, and that is making Johnson's Beach on Perdido Key more accessible by reducing entry fees. First, I want to thank Commissioner Kohler, who's not here, and Commissioner Hoffberger. Thank you for your efforts to significantly lower the cost of entering Johnson's Beach. I thank both of you for being steadfast supporters of public beaches. Johnson's Beach is one of our region's greatest treasures. It's not just about the beautiful beaches. It's a place where families create lasting memories, kids explore nature, and everyone can relax and recharge. But high entry fees are keeping too many people out. Families on a budget, students, seniors, and local residents shouldn't have to choose between a day at the beach and their paycheck. Public lands like Johnson's Beach should be for everyone, not just for those who can afford it. Every person, regardless of income, should have the chance to experience the national park. Reducing fees isn't just about money, it's about fairness, it's about health, it's about stewardship. Let's ensure Johnson's Beach is a place for everyone to enjoy today and in the future by reducing the entry fee for this cherished national park. Please, I don't see this as an avenue to, to take away customary use. I just think this needs to be an item that is considered fair, where more people can use this. However, the amenities in Johnson's Beach are, or as you heard me speak earlier, are, just so minimal that it leads to me to believe that it's actually being done on purpose because of they're trying to make it where it's just is so insignificant and it doesn't make sense to keep it going, that they're going to now try to use it and gate the communities going into Johnson's Beach and turn it into an area just for the new development that's going out there. That is going to be an absolute mess with that development going out there. And then we have Johnson's Beach and the fees. Are you kidding me? $25 to get in? I mean, that is a lot of money. And how many people can go 7 days a week? That's just ridiculous. It really does restrict many people and keep them off the beaches there. And it's tough enough. And I just listened to all this mess about people just wanting to go and enjoy what God gave to people to enjoy. I can't understand, or I can't even wrap my head around it, that people are so desperate to go to the beach, yet it's my beach, and I worked really hard for it. And I did have a survey, Commissioner Strohberger, but I just nobody on those beaches ever looked at the survey line to know that we own those beaches down to the water's edge. Nobody.
Kevin Wade, you're next, and then Melissa Pino, you'll be after Kevin.
Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Boblets, every grain of sand. Commissioner May, I remember one day that I was with you and in your district and in District 2 and we're helping people out by distributing water and food. And there's so many of those people working 2 and 3 jobs, and they don't have $45 for a year, no matter what amazing discount that would be to be able to take all the family out there. I don't understand why Escambia County can't just go ahead and say, we're just going to pay the fees at Johnson Beach. We got free parking at Pensacola Beach. You're welcome. You're welcome. We stopped the roundabout at Pensacola Beach. There was millions and millions of dollars. Heck, there were just multiple millions of dollars going into the studies over the roundabout at Pensacola Beach. Thankfully, there was a brilliant commissioner who listened to staff and said, let's change the signalization. Let's get people out there. We don't need roundabouts slowing people down. We need to make it so that it's a nice flow. What I think I loved about that area has been the nice flow. You got beautiful air, beautiful sand, beautiful water. And I really believe that the county can go ahead and find a compromise. I don't like the idea of the county taking back that land from the feds, because that puts it at jeopardy. County should pay for the parking out there. Absolutely. Every grain of sand. All right? Thank you all.
Melissa Pino, you're next, and Melissa will be our last speaker on this topic.
Thank you, Chairwoman Hofberger. Just touch on the history of some of the tricks that people have gotten up to having to do with Johnson Beach and really the whole Perdido Key, just like some of the agenda tricks we just saw. And yeah, that's right. That's why I was lobbying to get this empty discussion item off the agenda, because you can ask any single person I talked to. They said, what's going to happen? I said, Strohberger's going to come in with some motion, and probably the chair will second it very quickly. I told 24 people that that's the way that was going to go down today. So Johnson Beach, anyone who thinks that it's crazy that not the county but a developer or multiple developers are after privatizing that beach can take what just happened on that last item of an example of what happens when special interest elected officials get up to nonsense. We just had a room full of people get up and discuss customary use, and the whole thing was, oh, we need to find a compromise, so what I've decided to do is I'm gonna go ahead and sell that public parking lot to one of the condo associations. Let's underline that. No one trusts you when it comes to this beach that loves this beach, and there are developers circling that stuff like there's rotten carcasses on it. So I am begging the commissioners who actually care and have an investment about the Escambia public to guard this beach, because they want it. They want to gate it. They want to gate Johnson Beach. I'll never forget the day Kevin and I were walking Heron's Walk to try to get Doug out of office, walking for Alan McMillan. We were still kind of newbies. We had only been working on environmental stuff. We had no idea what we were getting into with Chinatown here in Escambia County, dealing with special interest commissioners who are working shady stuff with developers in the background. And we ran into the head of the HOA at that time. His name was Larry. He didn't know he was about ready to get ousted because the builder for one of the developers out there was going to move into the neighborhood with his wife and take over the HOA association. And it was from him that we learned that all of the roads in that HOA are public. And why do you think that is? Because those are going to become the ingress egress for the giant multi-use development that's going at the roundabout, and on the other side near Johnson Beach, the condo tower that's going to probably have a bridge floated to it that Commissioner Stroberger will probably be granting a bunch of parking variances for, because he didn't get his mitigation because we opened up Beach Access 4, so Doug couldn't peddle the dunes to the developer for his mitigation, so he had to downplay his development. Not very happy about that, but if they could
Thank
grab
you,
up
Melissa.
a
We
federal
appreciate
beach,
your
he might
time.
be a little
Melissa was
happier.
our last speaker on this topic. So, do we have a motion to move this topic?
Madam Chair, are there speakers on the other item?
No, sir, there is
Move
not.
item 1 and 2, and in 2, that includes A through D.
Wonderful.
Second.
Awesome. All in favor? 4-0. Thank you. I appreciate it. There were no items added to the agenda. Do we have any announcements? No. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.